Welcome everybody to what is a very special Facebook live Q&A today. My name is Taryn Black. I'm from Diabetes Australia and it's an absolute pleasure to host today's Q&A. Before we get underway, I do want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we're all gathering today and pay my respects to elders past and present. Thanks for joining us. Big day today. Normally we would have Ndss Shabilia hosting our live Q&As for Diabetes Australia, but we're going to do something that we did a couple of months ago and turn the tables, and I'm going to interview Ndss this time to unpack today's CGM rollout and what that means for people with type 1 diabetes, and also answer your questions. So please push the questions through the chat box today, and we'll endeavour to get to them, or if we can't, we'll come back to you. So I do want to introduce Ndss, who I don't think needs much introduction, but thank you, Ndss, for joining us today to talk about the CGM expansion. We will be having another special guest later on, Suz Kalf from JDRF, who's also been on this amazing ride with us to talk about what this means for the community and some exciting announcements of some initiatives that are coming up. So Ndss, big day. Firstly, before we get into the tin tax, and we are going to really unpack all the pathways and all the information about what this means and how people can access CGM. But before we get into all of that, just want to get your personal response to what does today mean for you and to the community.
Oh, look, can I tell you, there have been tears of joy and delight, you know, way back when the bipartisan election promise was made, and throughout all of this. This is a hugely momentous occasion. You know, yesterday I was in a store and somebody, I don't even know, we started chatting and I mentioned I worked at Diabetes Australia, and this woman told me that her daughter will be eligible as of today. Her daughter has been using CGM, and you know, this is going to be this is going to make a huge difference. You know, I was speaking with somebody last night who was telling me that, you know, before they were using CGM, their anxiety levels are really high, especially around sleeping. And, you know, this is hugely important to have this technology accessible to all people with type 1 diabetes in Australia. It is a wonderful day. So, you know, if I do get a bit teary today, I'll apologise now. But I do understand there's lots of excitement, lots of questions, and it is a bit of a frenzy out there in type 1 diabetes social media land. So let's see if we can maybe alleviate some of the questions or concerns that people might have.
Fantastic. Okay. And so the other thing I want to say to everybody is that everything that we are talking about today is available on the Ndss website. Or by calling the Ndss helpline, and the team will put the website, in case you don't know it, in the chat box as well, and the telephone number for the Ndss helpline. So nothing really new today that's not already on that website, and that really is a great one-stop shop to find out everything about how you can access CGM. So I want to start today, Ndss, by asking, firstly, who is eligible? What does this announcement mean for who is eligible now to access subsidised CGM?
Okay, I'm just going to start by saying, if you are already eligible, if you've already been accessing it, nothing changes for you at all. So we're actually not going to focus on you today. Yay that you've been able to access it. We're talking about people who are newly going to be able to, and that is anyone with type 1 diabetes who hasn't been able to access it yet. So anyone over the age of 21 who doesn't have a concession card and who isn't trying to get pregnant or who isn't pregnant, those groups have already been able to. So basically it means that the CGM initiative, the Ndss CGM initiative, is now expanded to every person with type 1 diabetes on the Ndss. Yeah, so it's a lot simpler now. There's not, you know, we're not breaking down into different cohorts, people with type 1. Everybody is eligible.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the new people today, and as I understand it, there are different pathways for different people. Yes. Depending on whether you've used Flash or CGM previously. So could you talk us through the different groups and the different pathways for those groups? So that's a big question. And so let's just we'll unpack that for each group.
Yeah. So let's go through it. And look, people are going to probably have questions afterwards. And I think we're all still getting our heads around it because it is different. So if you are over 21, and you have never used Flash or CGM, it's really easy for you. You need to speak with your healthcare professional to have the forms filled in. And it's got to be specialized healthcare professionals. So an endocrinologist, a diabetes educator, it's health professionals who specialize in diabetes, okay? So probably who you go to every 3 months or however frequently you see your diabetes related healthcare professional. Over 21, never use CGM or Flash, that's where you need to go. Now, if you're over 21 and you've previously been eligible, your NDS, so you've previously been eligible through the NDSS initiative, your account will be reactivated, if you like, so you will be able to access it. Now's where it gets a little bit tricky, because now we're going to talk about people who have used and have self-funded. Now, if you are using CGM now, and you've been self-funding, you're over 21, and you purchased CGM from one of the suppliers, so directly from one of the suppliers, that's Abbott, Medtronic, or AMSL for Dexcom, from the 1st of January to the 1st of July, sorry, from the 1st of January to the 1st of June, and we're going to come back to that in a minute, 1st of January to the 1st of June, you will be eligible to straight away start to use it once you fill in a form and your details are validated from the supplier. Now, what that means is that when you fill in the form, it's a super quick form. You'll need to provide your NDSS number, your name, a couple of other details, address, phone number, email address, and which particular device it is that you're using. And if you know it, you'll also need to include your customer number. But if you don't know it, the form will still go through, even if you don't know that. And then what will happen is that the supplier needs to validate that you have, in fact, bought product from them from the 1st of January this year to the 1st of June this year. And why I'm making this point really clear is because if you haven't accessed supply from the supplier in that period, but you have from the 1st of June to now, you are actually still going to need to see a healthcare professional. And let me explain why that is, because I know there are probably some people here going, what? Well, hang on a minute, but I've been using it. Everybody would know, or most people would know, that in the last few months, the suppliers have been doing some amazing things to get people to be able to access and try their supplies at a subsidized rate. But you haven't had to see a health professional to order it. And so there have been a lot of people who've never used CGM before who have jumped on and taken advantage of these amazing deals, but they've never actually spoken to a healthcare professional before about using the technology. Now, a couple of things. This is amazing tech. It really is incredible tech. It's really expensive tech as well. And the same with any technology, whether it's the cheapest thing in the world or the most expensive, if you're not using it properly, you may as well not be using it. And I say that as somebody who started using a pump 21 years ago. And for the first 3 years, I had no idea what I was doing. I was trained up by someone who really wasn't the best person to train me up. It wasn't until I spent time with an amazing healthcare professional, diabetes educator, who I still see, who helped me use it properly. Those first 3 years, it was a waste of time, and I was paying for that out of pocket at that point in time too. So what we're trying to do here is to make sure that everybody who is using it is getting the most out of it. We absolutely know that that's going to mean that there are some people who sadly are going to be feeling a bit frustrated because they are going to have to go and see their healthcare professional to fill in a form. But we're just hoping that everybody can understand that this is to make sure that we've got as many people as possible using this and getting the most out of it that they possibly can. So there was that I needed to say. And is there another group that I have forgotten there? I think it's if you're, again, I think it's if you're over 21 and you're self-funding, but you haven't ordered from a supplier from before the 1st of January this year, then you will also need to see your healthcare professional to fill in the form.
And we've got a few questions coming through, but I'm going to get to them in a minute. Yes. Just in terms of seeing a healthcare professional, what can people expect with that? Like, they're going to be able to get one appointment today? Should they wait till they, their next appointment? What's the process there?
Yes. Okay. So we know everybody would really like to access this straight away. And we do understand that, because for, while you're not eligible or you're not activated on this system, you're going to be paying out of pocket. However, we do need to understand and remember, please, that our healthcare professionals are going to be absolutely inundated. So these are online forms. So when you see your healthcare professional, they absolutely will be able to fill it in online and submit it, which is a really super fast process. But we are asking people to be patient, to be kind, and to remember that healthcare professionals have a lot of people with diabetes that they see who are all going to be in the same boat. But, so our advice would be is if you've got an appointment in the next short while, keep that appointment. And, don't think today that you're going to get on the phone and be able to speak to a healthcare professional. They're going to be able to fast track this for everybody, because it's simply not going to happen. It is going to take some time. But we really do understand that that everybody is desperate to get to be eligible straight away. But it is going to take a bit of time.
And I guess the other thing, all of this information is available on the NDSS website. So let's just break it down really clearly for those different pathways. So for people that have type 1 diabetes, have previously participated in the CGM initiative within the past 6 months, they will be, since 1 January, they will be reactivated.
That's right.
On the 4th of July. So talk to me about that.
Yes, so don't need to do anything. So, already been eligible. So, yes, you will be automatically reactivated, and then you will be able to access product after that. So I think, though, that the first date that you'll actually be able to start activating product is the 11th of July. So I think it's going to be the 11th of July that the forms to actually order will be available. And if that's not right, one of the NDSS team is going to tell me now. But yes, so you'll be reactivated automatically and then be able to access from the 11th of July.
And there is an information sheet on the NDSS website to explain that for people, what that process is, all about that. Okay, excellent. Second group is you purchase from the supplier, CGM and Flash, from Jan through to June 1.
That's right.
And okay, and so what happens with those people?
So for those people, you need to fill in a form that is on the NDSS site now. It's a really quick form to fill in. I'll just tell you, I did that form this morning and then remembered I actually myself haven't purchased anything in that time period because I was using up some older sensors. So I'm actually going to be one of those people. I've been using CGM for over 10 years now, but I'm actually going to need to see my health professional. And I get it. That's absolutely fine. I will do that when I've got an appointment in a month or two to see my endocrinologist. So I will see her then and ask her to fill it in. So that's me in that form. So in that group. But if you have, so if you have ordered from 1st of Jan to 1st of July, 1st of June, I'm going to keep saying that, 1st of June, you will need to just fill in the form and that gets sent off. And then if it's all validated, you'll be able to access product. There is a slight little difference in there depending on the date that you personally fill in your form. So I'm going to just read that out. If you submit before July 4th, which is Monday, and your form is validated, you should be able to access from the 11th of July. And if you submit from Tuesday, July 5th, through to the end of July, that will kind of like be the next batch that goes through, and you won't be able to access until the 8th of August. So if you are in that group and you know that you would be eligible, you've got all your NDSS details there, get on it and fill in the online form as soon as you can to make sure that you're able to access it.
Okay, and lots of questions coming through, which we're going to get to. Then the third category is new users or people that have used CGM from 1 June. And so that is absolutely going and seeing a healthcare professional, and the health professional will fill in the form and start that process.
That's exactly right. It's an
once again, all of that information on the website. Okay, great. So we're going to go
just correct myself because I have been censored. We've got a wonderful team behind the scenes making sure that I don't slip up because we've had so much information to take in. So thank you, Erica. For previous CGM initiative through the NDSS, people have been who are going to be reactivated. That's such a terrible term, but whose NDSS account is going to be reactivated to be able to access NDSS through the CGM through the NDSS initiative. You'll actually have access from the 4th of July, which is on Monday.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. So got a message from Debbie here who has couldn't validate her details through the NDSS this morning. So she entered her surname NDSS number, but it came up, it could not be validated. What's going on there?
Yeah, look, as ever, because there are so many people jumping on, we do know that there are a couple of little glitches here. So if your NDSS number starts with a 0 or a couple of zeros, the system is having a bit of trouble recognizing that. You do need to add the zeros though. So please come back in a couple of hours and have a go there. As I said, as long as you get these forms filled in before the 4th of July, you'll be in the first batch that gets done. So we are aware that there's a little glitch with the system here. It's nothing too major, but just try again in a couple of hours and see how you go there. And if you're still having trouble, you can always contact the NDSS helpline, but we do know that this is a problem and we are working very, very hard behind the scenes to fix that.
Okay. Ian's asked a question about people who've used CGM for over a year, but then have had to have a break from the expense, and then they've started up about 3 months ago. So they would have started before the 1 June. What will happen for them?
So if you started up again 3 months ago and the supplies that you've been using, you bought from the supplier, so not from another source, then you're eligible. You will be able to fill in the online form and you should be, and as long as your details can be validated, you will be, you'll be able to access either from the 11th of July, if you fill in your form before Monday or on Monday, but if it's after then, it will be the 8th of August.
Yeah.
But we understand that we do understand people that's how people have been using CGM who haven't been eligible for the initiative up until now. People have been using it sporadically when they can afford to purchase a box of sensors or a Libre sensor. So we do understand that, but hopefully you'll catch you'll be caught into that group between 1 July and 1 June.
Okay, we've got a number of questions here, Renz, about people that would like to change products.
Yeah.
So they're with a particular product, but they want to change to another. But the form actually asks people for their current supplier.
Yes.
So what do those people need to do?
Yeah. That's a really important question. So we need to validate what you've been using now. So if you've been using, for example, Dexcom now and you want to change to Medtronic, and you've never purchased Medtronic before and you haven't in that time period from 1st of January to 1st of June, you will need to see a health professional to fill in your form, because it's considered that it's like you're starting again. It's like you're starting again, and you need to see a healthcare professional to help you with that. So, and we know that people will want to be changing, but again, to get the most out of a certain diabetes technology, you want to make sure that you're using it properly. So that goes for everybody though. So even if you're currently eligible and have been able to access product through the CGM initiative, you would have to, and you want to change, you're going to have to go back and see a health professional.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really, okay, so that's good. I think we've answered, are there any more? I think we've got most of those questions answered. Again, if people have any issues, or really, I keep saying that the major source of truth is the NDSS website.
Yes.
And of course the helpline. Were there any other key things that you've seen in terms of comments on social media, Renza, that you think it's worth talking about?
Can we talk about cost for a minute? Because I know that some people,
sure.
I think the only thing that we knew from the election announcements, the promises, was it won't be more than $32.50 a month. So we now have the costs that's come through. So I'm just going to go through the different prices, and then we're going to explain why they're different and what that means. So to use Dexcom G6, and it's just G6 that's available, is $32.10 per box, which is a month's supply. To use the Guardian Link 3, it's $32.10, and that's and then the Guardian 3 is $37.50. So the Guardian Link 3 at $32.10, that's a month's supply. The Guardian 3 is at $37.50 because that's actually 5 weeks supply, and then the Libre is $15 per sensor. Now they may look a little bit different, but basically what it's going to mean is if you average it out over the year and look at it, it's going to be the same cost. So it will be around that $32.50 per month for everybody. And of course, then there are transmitters on the top of that. If you're using either a Medtronic product or a Dexcom, and the transmitters, there is no cost at the point or at where you collect your supplies, which is usually a community pharmacy for most people at an access point. But of course, we should also talk about how many things people can buy in one go, because I think that's probably important as well. So when it comes to transmitters, the Dexcom transmitters last just over 3 months. The Medtronic ones last for 12 months, and there's no transmitter for Libre.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question's come through just around subscriptions. So somebody's got a subscription with a company. What happens to the 12-month subscription?
Yeah.
What happens for them?
Go back to the company, but I do believe from what I've seen, and there's been a lot of discussion about this, that the companies will be cancelling those subscriptions and not holding people to the contracts that they have. But for that to happen, you have to go to the company to make sure that's something that's a contract that you have with the company, so you'll need to speak with them directly.
But the idea will be they won't have to pay the subscription moving forward. Yeah. Okay, great. Yep. Okay, excellent. Right, we've got a question here. Will they be able to order the subsidised CGM directly from the manufacturer instead of an Ndss access point? That's a good question.
That is a great question, but no, you will need to go to through the Ndss, like you order everything else through the Ndss. It will be the same process. So, this is where it's always great to have a good relationship with your local community pharmacy, and a reminder, this will be like pretty much everything else, with pump supplies and things like that. Order it in. I mean, I know that when I need insulin, I ring my pharmacy the day before and say, I need this insulin script. Can you please get it in? I do the same with pump supplies. So make sure you give yourself that bit of lead time. But you can't, if you go direct to the manufacturer, you're going to have to pay the manufacturer's price. So go through the Ndss. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Okay, we're going to come back to the transmitters because someone's asked for you to break that down again. So actually, let's just do that now. So can we just, again, just go through all the information you provided about the transmitters?
Yes. Okay. So the transmitters, and you only need a transmitter if you're using a Medtronic or a Dexcom product. The Libre, you don't. Okay. Transmitters there will be no charge when you order and pick them up. They are fully subsidized. So you will need to access it the same way that you would access the sensors in terms of filling in the Ndss form to order it. But there will not be a copay on those devices. If you use Medtronic, they last for 12 months. If you use a Dexcom G6, they last for just over 3 months. So, you would order one every 3 months if that's what you're using for Dexcom, and give yourself, remembering that they're very clever products here. They do give you a warning to let you know that you've still got a couple of weeks left, and that's a good time to get on the phone and order another one. Okay. But we should talk about how many boxes of sensors you can also purchase. So let's just cover that. If you use Dexcom or Medtronic, you can order up to 3 boxes at a time. So again, that's 3 months supply. You can decide not to do that. You might decide only want it to, there are a lot of considerations here. You might want to only have 2 at a time or 1 at a time, whatever it is, but you can't order any more than 3 boxes at a time. If you are using Flash, you can order up to 6 because they're sold individually. You can order up to 6 at a time, which is again the same, as 3 months worth. And you can order 1 transmitter at a time. Okay, so again, it's worth speaking with your pharmacist about that to make sure, find out what the lead time is going to be, how long it's going to take for these things to come in, and making sure that you give yourself plenty of time.
So Grant's asked a question about what about getting a replacement for a failed sensor, which is a good question. And do we contact the supplier or, what's the process there?
Really good question. Straight to the supplier for that, and they will work with you to replace it. They'll go through it to make sure that everything's being done correctly. So it's also, you know, a great opportunity just to make sure that you're citing things the right way, and that you know, making sure that you're pressing the right buttons and everything on the apps that you need. But it's straight to the supplier, and I would urge everybody to do that. And the reason I say that is I know that sometimes you might think, oh, look, I've got some more, and so it doesn't really matter, but do make sure you do. You know, there are, you know, we're meant to get a certain number of days out of each of the sensors, and they should be working properly, and the transmitters are meant to last for a certain amount of time. If there is a problem, please do make sure that you that you do give the supplier a call and have a conversation with them about it.
Fantastic. I do want to just go with a question that's been asked here from Kevin. So Kevin's talking about a particular situation, new pump, gifted a box of sensors from the company, since signed up for a subscription service. Would he be eligible to qualify now, or does he need to go see a healthcare professional, or maybe he needs to call the Ndss helpline? That's quite specific. I'm not quite sure what would be your gut response to that, Renz?
Well, Kevin, I want to know how recently, because if it was since the 1st of June, then you are going to need to because we will only see that you've been accessing since the 1st of June, or the Ndss will see that. So you are going to need to see a healthcare professional to fill it in. If it was before that, you should be fine. But if it was since, you know, if it's been in the last month, you are going to need to get your healthcare professional to fill in that online form. And again, we do appreciate that for a lot of people, this is going to be a bit frustrating. We totally get it. We hope that you can understand, though, why this has been the decision that's been made, because it is going to, you know, I know of dozens and dozens of people who have never ever used CGM before, but have taken advantage of the free sensors that were available, or the heavily discounted sensors and transmitters that were available. I just kind of think about what I would be doing if I was starting on CGM now, and how difficult it was when I first started to learn how to get it right and use it properly. And so we just want to make sure that everybody has the training and the education that they need to be getting the most out of it. And also, you know, consider this as a really great time while you're waiting for your healthcare professional. Have chats with other people who have been using CGM for ages, and, you know, this is for newer people, I guess, but, you know, have chats with people who have been using CGM for ages to learn some tips and tricks. But and if you are one of those people who has been using it for a while but isn't eligible, maybe you can use this time to be, you know, to share some of those tips and tricks that you've learnt in the time that you've been using it.
Renz, we've just had our amazing team behind the scenes give a bit more advice for Kevin, who said that his it was the 30th of May, so he would probably be okay. So even if a gifted product from a supplier should be able to validate access if between 1 Jan and 1 June. So Kevin, I hope that information is helpful. Try the self-funded pathway there. Margaret's asked a tricky question. You're not going to need to do some math here, Renz, but it's just wanting to know the overall total cost to use this system per year. I don't know if you know. Wow, good on you.
No, well, when we were told that it wasn't going to be any more than $32.50 a year, I worked it out, and it was going to be, $32.50 a month. I worked it out, it was like $390 a year. So it's going to be under $400 a year is what it works out to. And it's been costing people up to $4,000 a year. So it's less. It's a lot less. So, you know, if you want to look, I've got a trusty calculator right next to me, because I always do, because I'm a bit of a nerd. So if you're using Dexcom or the Medtronic Link 3, it's going to be $385.20 per month. If you're using Libre, it's going to be $390. It's all going to average out to between about, you know, it will be under $400. Somewhere between about $385 and $390 per year is what it's going to cost every person.
Yeah, okay. We've got some really nice comments coming in thanking Diabetes Australia, but also all the diabetes organisations that have made this happen, and all the advocates and the community members who rallied behind to get this initiative off the ground. So thank you for those lovely messages that have come through. They mean the world to the team that have worked so hard to make this happen. I did want to just do a bit of chest beating and acknowledge the extraordinary efforts of the NDSS team at Diabetes Australia, and also the Department of Health, who I think have done an extraordinary job in getting this live by 1 July, noting that it was only just over a month ago that this was announced. I think the last time it took 10 months for it to be introduced. So that's a amazing effort, really.
Yeah, we seem quite calm, but let us tell you that behind the team behind the scenes is that thing about the duck looking really smooth on the water, but their legs going like this. They have been remarkable.
Yeah. So we're going to talk to Saz in a minute. I've just got a couple more questions coming through. Okay, Alicia's I told everybody just to be prepared for sensitivity issues. Not everybody is able to use the tapes, which they can with CGMs. And John's asked a specific question about Dexcom sensors in 1 month. Is that if he orders 9 sensors, will that still only be $32.50? I don't think so.
No, John, it's $32.10 per box, and there are 3 sensors in a box. So if you want to order 3 months worth, you will be paying $32.10 times 3. Yeah,
fantastic.
$96.30. Yeah.
And so once again, all the information on the NDSS website, and I guess that's good. We're going to maybe, Saz, is there anything else, sorry, friends, before we talk to Saz that you wanted to, any other questions that you've seen that you think we need to cover?
No, I think that they're the main ones. I just, do want to, again, just remind people this is a huge day. And I don't think that that's lost on anyone, quite frankly, but just to remember that there are now an extra, I think it's 71,000 people who are now eligible. And so that's 71,000 people who probably all want access right now, right here. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. So please do be patient, but we do understand how excited everybody is. And if you do have questions, have a look on the NDSS website, do read through everything, but do come to us if we can answer any questions that you can't locate there.
And also big props to the healthcare professionals that are going to be, quite really working hard to support the community. They've just been extraordinary, really, to support this. And they don't necessarily, this is additional load, right? So big props to the frontline CDEs and endocrinologists and nurse practitioners and all the healthcare professionals who really deserve big thanks.
Absolutely. And when I say, and I know that it probably just sounds like it's just an online form, but it is another form that needs to be filled in. There are details that need to be collected. It is something that takes time. So
yeah. And I think Ian's just asked a question about pharmacy. They've all been, access points have all been briefed. So again, big props to them too, but their support in terms of rolling this initiative out. Yeah.
Yes, but I will just say that the pharmacists may not necessarily know about all the details around, who needs to fill in which form and all of that. Yeah. They're going to be great. And I actually would probably, next time you're at the pharmacy, go and have a chat with your pharmacist about, to make sure, as I said, what the process is going to be for you to order and how long lead times and get an understanding of, their supply process as well. I think that's really quite interesting. But yeah, don't expect them to know the nitty gritty of necessarily which forms you need to fill out, because that's kind of they're not involved in the form filling out part of this.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more with Saz about this, but also finally just in terms of thank yous, also thank you to Minister Butler, because this wouldn't have happened really without both governments really, but fantastic that Labor government have delivered on this commitment.
So quickly, it's amazing. Yeah. Fabulous.
Yeah, good. 100%. All right, thanks friends. Okay. Just everyone else, I might ask Saz to turn on your camera and your mic, and we'll ask Saz some questions from JDRF, but to everybody, please look at the NDSS website in terms of if you've got, you need general information, but also that NDSS helpline that's the number to call, and I think hopefully the details are in the chat.
Yep.
That's the number to call with specific inquiries about your specific situation.
Yep. I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'll still be here if you need me to answer any questions. But I'm going to turn my camera off and mic off so that Suz can come on and she can shine.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks, Renza.
I actually can't get on to video. Sorry. Oh, here we go. Yes.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Suz. Welcome.
Thank you.
Suz Culp, everybody, from JDRF, who is one of the amazing diabetes organisations that works with Diabetes Australia and a number of other diabetes organisations to basically fight for a whole range of things to make life better for people with diabetes. So Suz, thanks for joining us today. Again, I just wanted to, you've been heavily involved, I know, with the type 1 diabetes community and grassroots sort of advocacy program that's really driven a lot of the community connection to MPs and politicians. And so I know this is a big day for all of those people and the broader community. What from your perspective, what does this mean? What have you been getting messages? What have people been saying?
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's been so many messages. It's such an exciting day for everybody in the type 1 community. And I think really the thing it comes down to is choice. The choice of is no longer around really, can I afford the technology? The choice is what technology works for me and how better can I manage my type 1 diabetes, which is just sort of really wonderful. And like Renza said, everywhere you go, you bump into people who were not able to afford the technology or about to explore the technology. It's just really wonderful.
Fantastic. And so how did I just want to quickly ask this because this just didn't happen overnight, and I just would love you to talk me through how did we get here today and your reflections on that journey.
Yeah, look, I think it's been a really complex journey that's had like so many different parts. The Diabetes Alliance has been really important, which is a coalition of all the diabetes peak bodies, and it's been working, squirreling away on technology access for absolutely for years actually. I would be remiss if I didn't really thank all the JDRF advocates. We've had over 100 advocates who have connected with their federal MP and their federal senator, and all props to the federal MPs and the senators across the spectrum of government who all listened to what they had to say and were very passionate and made fantastic representations on their behalf. Like you, Taryn, I couldn't be more grateful to Minister Butler and the fantastic response of Labor to the Coalition's commitment for technology access. It's wonderful to have the commitments, but it's even more exciting to see them come to life, and also to come to life so speedily. And a lot of that is, I know you've already said thank you, but I share in the congratulations to the department for being so amazing in getting the program up and running. And I know it's not been easy, even though it looks really seamless. So, you know, it's just a wonderful collective effort and a shared sense of real optimism.
Yeah, fantastic. And lots of people involved, as you say. Big props to, you know, that Diabetes Alliance, the Australian Diabetes Society, the Australian Diabetes Educators Association, ADIPS and APEG, so Australasian Paediatric Endocrine Group, Diabetes in Pregnancy. Like, it's just been amazing. And I also echo fantastic about, you know, just to have Minister Butler's support. It's just great. So I think, so today, lots happening. People will be trying to access the forms and going through the relevant pathway. There are, of course, going to be a whole range of people, big numbers of people who will never have used CGM or Flash before.
Exactly.
And obviously they'll be going to see a healthcare professional to talk about what might be right for them, and choice, as you say. But I'm really interested. I know that we've got something coming up because really we want to provide information to people now, don't we? So what's sort of coming up in terms of to help those people be able to know what's the right choice for them?
Look, one thing that I think is really quite exciting, and it's very much targeted towards those people who haven't perhaps used the technology before, is the Diabetes Alliance is planning to hold a mini technology summit, I suppose you'd call it, on the 27th of July from 6:30 till 8:45 p.m. And the idea behind that is just to have to provide an understanding of the choices of CGMs, what's available, maybe some tips and tricks for things you could talk to your healthcare professional about, and how just best to navigate your way around the system and get the access as easily as you can. So that is a keep the date free for the 27th of July, and we'll be spreading lots of information about that technology summit through all of the Diabetes Alliance partners. So we're really excited and looking forward to that.
Fantastic. That's great, Sales. I think that's going to be a great event. Is there anything else that you wanted to say on this really important day? I mean, I think you said some wonderful, you know, it is a big day and lots of people to be thanked, but anything else, any parting words?
Oh, look, just that it's just fantastic to see all the efforts of so many people come to life, and to know that lots of advocates and lots of people can talk to government, and that government can listen and respond, and you know, make such an investment into into people with type 1 diabetes. And yeah, it's a day that we thought it was a long time coming, but here it is, and that's wonderful.
Fantastic. Thank you, Saz, and thank you, Rens. We've got some comments that have come through, but we'll respond in the chat box to those just in the last little while. And again, everybody, please visit the NDSS website or the NDSS helpline. That's the way to get your specific questions answered. Thanks for joining us today. I hope today was helpful and at least answered some of your questions. We're obviously really excited here to be able to have this day, because it has been a long journey. Big thank you once again to the NDSS Diabetes Australia team and the Department of Health who have really made this happen. All the MPs that have backed this, Minister Butler, all the diabetes organisations, but most importantly, thanks to the diabetes community for believing in us to deliver this for you, and for your support and adding your voice to this, because this would not have been possible without really having a diabetes community that are so passionate and that we want to serve and that we want to do things for to make life better for you. So thanks for giving us the opportunity to fight for you to deliver this. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Taryn.